cut right through the noise. The automotive industry is built on a foundation of carefully managed information. There are the things they tell you in the glossy brochures and the owner's manual, and then there are the things they don't, the secrets, the procedures, and bits of knowledge reserved for master technicians and grizzled old-timers who've spent a lifetime with grease under their fingernails. These aren't secrets designed to protect you. They're designed to protect their service department's revenue stream. They thrive on the idea that your vehicle is a mystical black box, and only they hold the sacred keys to its operation. But what if I told you that you could not only peek inside that box but also rewire some of its core functions using nothing more than a few basic tools and some forbidden knowledge? We're talking about the kinds of potent, effective tricks that make your pre-owned or used SUV feel sharper, stronger, and more alive than the day you drove it off the lot. These are the adjustments and deep maintenance hacks that are considered illegal in the unwritten rulebook of the dealership world. Why? Because they empower you. They save you astronomical amounts of money and, in many cases, can make your vehicle outperform the manufacturer's compromised, comfort-focused factory settings. We are about to embark on a journey into the underbelly of automotive care, a place where standard procedures are thrown out the window in favor of what truly works. This is the stuff they pray you never find out about. The 10 secrets to unlocking the hidden potential that's been dormant in your SUV this entire time. If that sounds like the kind of power you want in your own garage, then do yourself a favor right now. Hit that like button until it turns blue, and then absolutely demolish the subscribe button and ring that notification bell. We're going deep on this channel, and you are not going to want to miss a single secret we share. Trust me. Now, let's get our hands dirty. Number 1. Unlocking your SUV's hidden brain power. Every modern SUV, regardless of its age, has a central nervous system. It's called the Engine Control Unit, or ECU. Think of it as the vehicle's brain. It controls everything from the air-fuel mixture and ignition timing to the way your automatic transmission shifts gears. But here's the critical piece of information they don't advertise. This brain is a learning computer. Over tens of thousands of miles, it collects data and adapts to the driving style of its operator. If you bought your SUV used, you didn't just inherit some old floor mats and a questionable air freshener, you inherited the previous owner's driving habits, which are now baked into the very logic of your vehicle's brain. Was the former owner a timid driver who never pushed the engine past 2,000 RPM? Did they spend all their time creeping through stop-and-go city traffic? If so, your ECU has learned to be lazy. It has optimized itself for sluggish, inefficient performance, dulling throttle response, and creating lazy, drawn-out gear shifts to prioritize a false sense of smoothness over actual efficiency and power. This electronic conditioning is a primary reason why a used SUV can feel so tired and unresponsive, even if it's mechanically sound. The dealership's solution. They'll happily charge you a few $100s for a diagnostic and recalibration service, which involves plugging in a fancy computer and clicking a few buttons. This is the legal way. The illegal trick is knowing you can achieve the same and often better results for free in your own driveway in under 15 minutes. We're talking about a targeted ECU soft reset. This isn't just yanking the battery cable off and hoping for the best. That's the amateur move. We're doing this the right way to ensure all the volatile memory holding those bad habits is completely wiped clean, forcing the ECU to start fresh and relearn its parameters based on your driving style. Here's the precise procedure. First, make sure your car is off and you have your keys out of the ignition. Pop the hood and locate your battery. You'll need a simple wrench, usually a 10mm. Disconnect the negative battery terminal first. This is crucial for safety. Then, disconnect the positive terminal. Now, with both cables completely free from the battery, you need to touch the metal ends of the two cables together. Yes, you heard that right. With the battery completely out of the circuit, this action does not create a dangerous short. Instead, it completes a circuit through the vehicle's electrical system, draining any residual power stored in the various capacitors and control modules. Hold them together for about 60 seconds. This is the key step that ensures a deep, hard reset of the ECU's learned parameters. After waiting a full minute, you can reconnect the terminals. Go in the reverse order. Positive first, then negative. Make sure they are tight and secure. Now, for the final critical part of the process, the relearning drive. The first time you start your SUV, it might idle a little rough for a moment as the brain recalibrates the idle air control valve, and this is normal. Take it for a drive, a spirited one. You need to give the ECU a full range of data. data. Drive it gently, accelerate moderately, and then, when it's safe, apply full throttle for a short burst. Drive on the highway. Drive in the city. The more varied the input you give it in the first 20 to 30 minutes of driving, the more comprehensive its new performance map will be. You will almost certainly notice an immediate difference. The throttle will feel more responsive, the transmission will shift more decisively, and the entire vehicle will feel more awake and eager. You've just performed a digital brain transplant, erasing years of bad habits and saving yourself a hefty bill at the dealership. Number 2. The Garage Brewed Elixir for a clogged engine. The fuel system in your SUV is its circulatory system. Over time, this system gets clogged with microscopic junk. We're talking about carbon deposits on intake valves, gunk on fuel injector tips, and moisture buildup in the fuel tank. These contaminants slowly strangle your engine's performance, leading to hesitation, poor fuel economy, and a general lack of power. The conventional advice is to simply fill up with premium fuel now and then. This is, at best, a weak and ineffective solution. The illegal approach is to become a garage alchemist and mix a potent, targeted cleaning cocktail that will scour your entire fuel system from the inside out, with an intensity that a single tank of high-octane fuel could never dream of achieving. First, let's dismantle the premium fuel myth. The octane rating of gasoline, 87, 89, 91, 93, has nothing to do with its cleaning power. An octane rating is simply a measure of the fuel's resistance to detonation, or knock. If your SUV is not a high-compression, turbocharged performance model, filling it with 93 octane fuel when it was designed for 87 is literally just burning money. You will see zero performance benefit. The cleaning additives in pump gasoline are present in all grades, but they are added at a maintenance level, not a deep cleaning level. To truly restore a dirty fuel system, you need a concentrated attack. Our elixir has 3 key ingredients, each chosen for a specific purpose. The first and most important is a fuel system cleaner that uses polyethyramine, or PEA, as its primary active ingredient. Do not just grab any bottle off the shelf. Look at the back label and ensure it lists PEA. Brands like Techron, Gumiout Regain, or Royal Purple Max Clean are excellent choices. PEA is a powerful solvent that is brutally effective at dissolving baked-on carbon deposits from injector pintles, valve stems, and combustion chambers. This is the industrial-strength cleaner that the pros use. The second ingredient is a high-quality fuel stabilizer, like STA-Bil or Seafoam. In an era of ethanol-blended gasoline, this is non-negotiable. Ethanol is hygroscopic, meaning it attracts and absorbs water from the atmosphere. This water can lead to corrosion inside your fuel tank and lines. A good stabilizer prevents this, ensuring that the fuel you burn is pure and that no phase separation occurs, where a blob of water and ethanol sinks to the bottom of your tank, waiting to be sucked into your engine. The third and final ingredient is a bottle of Marvel Mystery Oil or a similar upper cylinder lubricant. This is an old-school trick that works wonders. This light, penetrating oil is added to the fuel, and it helps lubricate the upper piston rings, valve guides, and the fuel pump itself. In a direct injection engine, where gasoline no longer washes over the intake valves, this provides some much-needed lubrication and cleaning to the top end of the engine. Here's the recipe. Wait until your SUV's fuel tank is nearly empty. At the gas station, before you fill up, pour in the entire bottle of the P-based cleaner, the recommended dosage of fuel stabilizer, and about 4 to 6 ounces of the upper cylinder lubricant. Then, fill the tank completely with fresh gasoline. Your SUV's recommended octane rating is perfectly fine. This ensures all 3 additives are thoroughly mixed. The secret is to use this cocktail right before a long drive. A 2 to 3 hour highway trip is perfect. This gives the potent blend of chemicals enough time at operating temperature to work their magic, dissolving deposits and cleaning the entire system. Performing this ritual every 10,000 miles will do more for your engine's health and performance than any fancy gasoline ever could. It's the deep clean detox your SUV is begging for, and it's a secret the fuel companies and dealerships would rather you didn't know. Number 3. Why the number on your door is a lie. Inside the driver's side door jamb of your SUV, there's a sticker. This sticker contains a wealth of information, but the number number that most people focus on is the recommended tire pressure. It's printed there by the manufacturer, so it must be the absolute best pressure for your tires, right? Wrong. That number is not a prescription for optimal performance. It is a carefully calculated compromise. It's a number chosen to provide the softest, quietest ride possible to appeal to the average consumer during a test drive, while also being high enough to prevent a catastrophic blowout that could lead to a lawsuit. It is a number based on liability and comfort, not on grip, handling, or maximizing the life of your tires. Following it blindly is costing you money and performance. The illegal truth is that the perfect tire pressure is not a fixed number. It is a dynamic variable that depends on your specific tires, your SUV's weight distribution, and even the ambient temperature. Finding that perfect pressure is one of the most impactful and free performance mods you can ever make. The goal is to maximize the size and shape of the tire's contact patch, the small rectangle of rubber that is actually touching the road at any given moment. The placard pressure often results in an underinflated state from a performance perspective, causing the tire to bulge slightly, lifting the center of the tread off the road and forcing the shoulders to do all the work. This leads to premature wear on the edges of your tires, a mushy and unresponsive steering feel, and reduced braking capability. The secret to finding your SUV's perfect tire pressure lies in a simple, old-school technique called the chalk test. It's brilliant in its simplicity. You'll need a piece of sidewalk chalk and a tire pressure gauge. Go to a large, flat, empty parking lot. Take your chalk and draw a thick, wide line across the entire tread width of one of your front tires. Then, drive the vehicle straight forward for about 20 to 30 feet. Now, get out and look at the chalk line on the tire. If the manufacturer's recommended pressure is too low, the chalk will have worn off on the outer edges, but the line will still be visible in the center of the tread. This is visual proof that the center isn't making good contact with the road. If the pressure is too high, the opposite will be true. The chalk will be gone from the center, but still visible on the shoulders. The perfect pressure is the one that results in the chalk line wearing off evenly and completely across the entire width of the tread. Start by inflating your tires about 4 to 5 psi above the placard recommendation. Perform the test. Is the chalk wearing in the middle? Let out 1 psi of air and repeat. Keep adjusting the pressure down by small increments and redrawing the chalk line until you achieve that perfectly even wear pattern. Do this for both the front and rear tires, as their ideal pressures will likely be different due to weight distribution. Once you find that magic number, you will be astounded by the difference. The steering will feel more direct and communicative, the vehicle will feel more stable and planted in corners, and you will dramatically extend the life of your tires by ensuring they wear evenly. You are no longer driving on the manufacturer's compromise. You are driving on a chassis that has been specifically tuned for your vehicle and your tires. This is a level of precision the dealership never tells you about. Number 4. Giving your SUV its lungs back. Imagine trying to run a marathon while breathing through a coffee stirrer. That's essentially what your SUV's engine is doing when its throttle body is caked in grime. The throttle body is the gateway for all the air that enters your engine. It's a simple butterfly valve that opens and closes as you press the accelerator pedal. Over tens of thousands of miles, a nasty mixture of carbon, oil vapor, and dirt gets sucked back through the intake system from the crankcase ventilation and exhaust gas recirculation systems. This grime builds up around the throttle plate and inside the bore of the throttle body, slowly but surely restricting the airflow. This buildup is a primary cause of a rough or wandering idle hesitation when you accelerate, and a general feeling of sluggishness. The dealership will gladly charge you an hour or two of labor for a throttle body service. The illegal secret is that with a single can of the correct cleaner and about 20 minutes of your time, you can perform a far more thorough cleaning yourself and restore that lost performance. This is one of the most satisfying and impactful pieces of maintenance you can do. First, you need to locate your throttle body. Follow the big, black intake tube from your air filter box to the engine. Where it connects to the metal part of the engine, that's your throttle body. Now, the most important part, you must purchase a cleaner that is specifically labeled Throttle Body and Air Intake Cleaner. Do not, under any circumstances, use brake cleaner or carburetor cleaner. Those chemicals are far too harsh and can damage the delicate electronic sensors connected to a modern throttle body, as well as strip off any special low-friction coatings on the inside. The process is straightforward. Disconnect the intake tube from the throttle body. You'll likely need a screwdriver or a socket to loosen the clamp. clamp. With the tube out of the way, you can now see the throttle plate. It will probably be covered in a layer of black, oily soot, especially on the backside. Stuff a rag into the intake manifold behind the throttle body to prevent any dislodged crud from falling into the engine. Have a friend sit in the car and turn the ignition to the on position without starting the engine. On a modern drive-by-wire SUV, this will allow them to press the gas pedal to the floor, which will fully open the throttle plate for you. If you have an older vehicle with a physical throttle cable, you can just open it by hand. Now, spray the cleaner liberally all over the throttle plate and the inside of the bore. Use an old toothbrush or a microfiber cloth to gently scrub away the baked-on carbon. Pay special attention to the edges of the plate and the areas where it rests when closed. This is where buildup causes the most problems with idle quality. You will be shocked at the amount of black gunk that comes off. Once it's sparkling clean, give it one final rinse with the spray and remove the rag you stuffed into the intake. Reconnect the intake tube, tighten the clamp, and you're done. The first time you start the engine, it might run a bit rough for a few seconds as it burns off the residual cleaner. This is perfectly normal. After that, the idle should be smoother and the throttle response should be noticeably crisper. You have just performed a critical respiratory cleaning on your engine, allowing it to breathe freely and deeply once again. This simple act of cleaning restores lost horsepower and efficiency that you probably didn't even realize was gone. Number 5. The invisible sensor that's robbing your power. Deep within your SUV's intake system, nestled between the air filter and the throttle body, lies a tiny, incredibly sensitive, and critically important component, the mass airflow sensor, or MF. This sensor has one job: to measure the exact mass of air entering the engine at any given moment. It does this by using a tiny heated wire or film. The incoming air cools the element, and the sensor measures how much electricity is needed to keep it at a constant temperature. This data is then sent to the ECU, which uses it to calculate the precise amount of fuel to inject for a perfect air-fuel ratio. It is the cornerstone of modern engine management. Here's the problem: this delicate sensor lives in a hostile environment. Over time, microscopic particles of dust that sneak past the air filter, oil vapor from the crankcase ventilation system, and even fibers from cheap, over-oiled aftermarket air filters contaminate the sensitive element. This contamination acts like a blanket, insulating the hot wire and causing it to send inaccurate, lower-than-actual airflow readings to the ECU. The ECU, thinking less air is entering the engine, injects less fuel. The result is a lean running condition that robs your engine of power, causes hesitation, and can lead to abysmal fuel economy. Often, a dirty MAF sensor won't even be dirty enough to trigger a check engine light, leaving you with a poorly performing vehicle and no obvious indication of what's wrong. A mechanic will often misdiagnose this as a faulty sensor and recommend a replacement that can cost hundreds of dollars. The illegal trick is knowing that in 9 out of 10 cases, the sensor isn't broken, it's just dirty, and cleaning it is an easy 10-minute job that costs less than a fast food meal. The absolute most important rule of this procedure is that you must use a dedicated mass airflow sensor cleaner. Do not use throttle body cleaner, brake cleaner, or any other chemical. MAF sensor cleaner is specifically formulated to clean the delicate electronics without leaving any residue that could further damage the sensor. Using the wrong chemical will destroy it instantly. To perform the cleaning, first locate the sensor. It will be mounted in the intake tube, usually right after the airbox, and will have a wiring harness connected to it. Carefully unplug the electrical connector. Then, usually with a Phillips head screwdriver or a small socket, remove the 2 screws holding the sensor in place. Gently pull the sensor straight out of the intake tube. Be careful not to bump or touch the sensitive wires or films inside the sensor housing. Take the sensor to a well-ventilated area. Hold the can of MAF cleaner about 6 to 8 inches away and spray the sensor elements liberally. Give it 10 to 15 short bursts, making sure to flush any contaminants off the wires. You will see the dirt and oil residue literally wash away. Never ever touch the sensor wires with your fingers, a brush, or a cotton swab. The force of the spray is all you need. After you've thoroughly cleaned it, place the sensor on a clean paper towel and let it air dry completely for at least 15 to 20 minutes. minutes. Do not try to speed this up with compressed air. Once it is bone dry, carefully reinstall it into the intake tube, tighten the screws, and reconnect the wiring harness. The difference can be night and day. By restoring the sensor's ability to accurately measure airflow, you restore the ECU's ability to deliver the correct amount of fuel. The engine will feel stronger, smoother, and more responsive, and you will likely see a noticeable improvement in your miles per gallon. You've just rescued a critical component from an early grave and saved yourself a massive repair bill. Number 6. Defying the lifetime fluid myth. Perhaps the single biggest and most destructive lie peddled by modern car manufacturers is the concept of lifetime fluids, specifically lifetime automatic transmission fluid. Let's be unequivocally clear, there is no such thing. It is a marketing gimmick designed to give the impression of a low-maintenance vehicle during the warranty period. The manufacturer's definition of lifetime is simply the projected life of the vehicle before a major, out-of-warranty failure occurs. By the time your lifetime fluid causes the transmission to fail at 120,000 miles, the vehicle is long out of warranty, and they are more than happy to sell you a new transmission for $5,000 to $8,000. Automatic transmission fluid is an incredibly complex hydraulic fluid. It doesn't just lubricate, it cools the transmission, provides the hydraulic pressure to actuate clutches and shift gears, and contains friction modifiers to ensure those clutches engage smoothly. Over time and through countless heat cycles, this fluid breaks down. The detergents lose their effectiveness, the viscosity changes, and most critically, it becomes contaminated with microscopic particles of clutch material and metal shavings from normal wear and tear. This abrasive, worn-out fluid then circulates through the transmission's incredibly complex valve body, which has passages and solenoids with clearances measured in thousandths of an inch. This contaminated fluid is poison to a modern automatic transmission. The illegal act is to reject the manufacturer's dangerous negligence and take matters into your own hands. The secret is not to perform a high-pressure transmission flush that you might see advertised at a quick lube shop. In an older, higher-mileage transmission, these power flushes can sometimes dislodge large pieces of sludge that then get stuck in the valve body, causing more harm than good. The safer, smarter, and more effective method is a simple drain and fill. This process removes a significant portion of the old, dirty fluid and replaces it with fresh, clean fluid, diluting the remaining contaminants. If you do this regularly, you will never have a dangerous buildup of sludge in the first place. Here's how it's done. First, you need to buy the correct transmission fluid. This is not a place to cheap out or guess. You must use the specific fluid recommended by your vehicle's manufacturer, e.g. Dexron 6, Mercon V, ATF Plug 4, etc. Using the wrong fluid can and will destroy your transmission. With the engine cool, safely raise the vehicle on jack stands. Locate the transmission oil pan. There will be two plugs, a drain plug at the bottom and a fill plug on the side or higher up. Place a large drain pan underneath the drain plug and loosen it. Fluid will start to come out. Before you completely remove the plug, get a clean, empty container like a milk jug. As you drain the fluid, try to measure exactly how much comes out. It will likely be between 3 to 5 quarts. Once it's drained, replace the drain plug. Now, using a funnel with a long flexible tube, you will add the exact same amount of new, clean fluid back into the transmission through the fill hole. It is absolutely critical that you replace the same volume of fluid that you removed. For best results, you can repeat this process. Drive the car for a day or two to let the new fluid mix with the remaining old fluid. Then, perform another drain and fill. After 2 or 3 of these procedures, you will have replaced the vast majority of the old, worn-out fluid with fresh, life-giving fluid. Your transmission will thank you with smoother shifts, better cooling, and a dramatically extended lifespan. You've just single-handedly defeated the industry's most expensive lie. Number 7. The hydraulic secret to stopping on a dime. Your SUV's braking system is arguably its most important safety feature. It is a hydraulic system that works on a simple principle. You press the brake pedal, which pushes fluid through lines to the wheels, clamping brake pads onto a spinning rotor. It feels simple, but there's a hidden enemy lurking within that system that slowly degrades its performance over time: water. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, which is a scientific way of saying it loves to absorb moisture right out of the air. This moisture permeates the rubber brake lines and enters the system through microscopic pores. Over time, the water content in your brake fluid rises. This is a huge problem for two reasons. First, water promotes corrosion on the internal metal parts of your brake system, like calipers and master cylinder bores. Second, and more dangerously, water has a much lower boiling point than brake fluid. Under heavy braking, like coming down a long mountain pass or in an emergency stop, your brakes generate an immense amount of heat. If the fluid gets hot enough to boil the water it has absorbed, that water turns to steam. Steam, unlike liquid, is highly compressible. This means the next time you press the brake pedal, you're no longer pushing a solid column of liquid, you're compressing a pocket of steam. The pedal will feel soft and spongy, and in a worst-case scenario, it can sink all the way to the floor with almost no braking force. This terrifying phenomenon is known as brake fade. The standard maintenance schedule often says to inspect the brake fluid, but many owners and even some shops neglect to replace it unless there's a problem. The illegal mindset is to treat brake fluid not as a long-term fluid, but as a service item with a strict 2-year expiration date, regardless of how many miles you've driven. A full brake fluid flush is a non-negotiable proactive measure to ensure your brakes perform at 100% capacity, 100% of the time. This is a procedure you can do at home, with a friend, or even by yourself using a simple gravity bleeding method. You'll need a few bottles of the correct type of brake fluid for your vehicle. Check your owner's manual, usually DOT3 or DOT4, a clear tube that fits over the bleeder screws on your brake calipers, and a jar to catch the old fluid. The secret is in the sequence. You must always start with the brake caliper that is farthest from the master cylinder and work your way closer. On most vehicles, this sequence is rear passenger, rear driver, front passenger, front driver. First, use a turkey baster to suck as much of the old, dark fluid out of the master cylinder reservoir as you can. Be careful not to let the reservoir run completely dry at any point during this process. Refill it with fresh, clean fluid. Now, go to your starting caliper, rear passenger. Locate the bleeder screw, a small nipple usually covered by a rubber cap. Place a wrench on the screw and attach your clear tube, running the other end into your catch jar. With a friend in the driver's seat, use this command sequence. Press. Your friend will press and hold the brake pedal down firmly. While they are holding it, you will crack open the bleeder screw about a quarter turn. Old, dark fluid will flow out into the tube. Before your friend's foot reaches the floor, you will command hold and tighten the bleeder screw. Then you can say release, and they can let their foot off the pedal. Repeat this process. Press, open, close, release, over and over. Keep a close eye on the master cylinder reservoir and continue to top it off with fresh fluid. You will see the fluid in your clear tube transition from dark and dirty to clean and clear. Once the fluid runs clear, you are done with that wheel. Move on to the next one in the sequence and repeat the entire process until all 4 corners are flushed with fresh, new fluid. This procedure ensures that the entire hydraulic system is purged of moisture and contaminants, giving you a firm, responsive brake pedal and the peace of mind that comes from knowing your most critical safety system is in perfect working order. Number 8. The forgotten gearbox that's screaming for help. When people think about the drivetrain of their SUV, they think of the engine and the transmission. But for those who own a 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive model, there are other critical components at work that are almost universally neglected: the differentials and the transfer case. These are gearboxes filled with oil, and they work incredibly hard. The differentials are what allow the wheels on the left and right side of the vehicle to spin at different speeds when you go around a corner. The transfer case is what splits power between the front and rear axles in a 4x4 or AWD system. The gear oil inside these components lives a brutal life. The gears inside a differential create immense pressure and friction, which generates a lot of heat and shears the oil, breaking down its viscosity and protective qualities over time. Furthermore, as the hardened steel gears mesh together, microscopic particles of metal wear off and become suspended in the oil. If you were to drain the original differential fluid from a vehicle with 50,000 miles, you would likely see that it has a metallic shimmer to it. This glitter gear is a fine metal paste that turns the gear oil into a liquid abrasive, dramatically accelerating wear on the gears and bearings every time you drive. This is the forgotten gearbox, silently grinding itself to death with contaminated fluid. The illegal trick is to remember this fluid exists and to change it on a regular basis, far more frequently than the manufacturer might suggest. This is one of the most important preventative maintenance items for any SUV with 4ER4 or AWD, and it can save you from a catastrophic failure that could cost thousands to repair. This is a job that is just as easy as an engine oil change, yet almost no one does it. You'll need to purchase the correct weight of gear oil, such as 75W290 or 80WWW140. Check your manual, and if you have a limited slip differential, LSD, a small bottle of friction modifier additive. Most differentials and transfer cases will have two plugs, a fill plug on the side and a drain plug on the bottom. The golden rule is to always loosen the fill plug first. You do not want to drain all the fluid out only to discover that the fill plug is seized and you can't get any new fluid back in. Once you've cracked the fill plug loose, place a drain pan under the drain plug and remove it completely. A thick, dark, and often pungent stream of old gear oil will drain out. Let it drain completely. While it's draining, inspect the drain plug. Most are magnetic and will have a collection of dark metallic fuzz on them. This is normal wear. Wipe it clean. If you find large chunks of metal, you may have a more serious problem. Once drained, replace the drain plug and tighten it. Now, using a simple fluid pump that screws onto the top of the gear oil bottle, pump the fresh fluid into the differential through the fill hole. You'll know it's full when the fluid starts to seep back out of the hole. For an LSD, make sure you add the friction modifier to the gear oil before you pump it in. Once it's full, replace the fill plug and you're done. Repeat the process for the rear differential, the front differential, if you have one, and the transfer case. Each will have its own specific fluid requirement, so be sure to check. By performing this simple service every 30,000 to 50,000 miles, you are ensuring the most abused and neglected parts of your drivetrain are protected. The gears will run cooler, quieter, and will last exponentially longer. This is the pro-level secret to drivetrain longevity. Number 9. Silencing your SUV's squeaks and groans for good. As an SUV ages, it starts to develop a symphony of unpleasant noises, squeaks, creaks, clunks, and groans that seem to come from deep within the chassis, especially when going over bumps or turning the steering wheel. These noises are not just annoying, they are the sound of your suspension and steering components crying out for help. They are symptoms of dried out, cracking rubber bushings and unlubricated metal-on-metal joints. A dealership might tell you the only solution is to start replacing expensive components like control arms and sway bar links. But the illegal secret is that you can often silence these noises and restore a sense of newness to your ride with a little bit of targeted lubrication. The problem lies in the fact that modern cars are designed to be low maintenance. This means that the old school grease fittings, or Zerks, that used to be on every ball joint and tie rod end have largely disappeared. Manufacturers decided it was cheaper to make sealed for life units. As we've already learned, lifetime is a lie. These sealed joints eventually run out of grease and the rubber bushings that isolate the suspension from the chassis dry out from exposure to the elements, becoming hard and brittle. The first step is to get under your car with a good flashlight and perform a thorough inspection. Look at all the rubber bushings. These are the black rubber donuts where your control arms, sway bar, and shock absorbers mount to the vehicle's frame. If you see cracking or tearing, they will eventually need to be replaced. But if they just look dry, they can often be rehydrated and silenced. The secret weapon here is a can of silicone-based lubricant spray. Do not use a petroleum-based lubricant like WD-40, as it will eat away at the rubber and cause it to swell and fail prematurely. A silicone spray is safe for rubber and plastics. Liberally spray every single suspension bushing you can find. Soak the sway bar bushings where the bar passes through them. Spray the large control arm bushings. This silicone lubricant will penetrate the rubber, restoring some of its suppleness and creating a lubricating barrier that will stop the squeaking. The next step is to search for any grease fittings. Some SUVs, especially trucks and larger body-on-frame models, may still have Zerk fittings on their ball joints and steering linkage. These are small, nipple-like fittings that allow you to inject fresh grease. This is a lost art of vehicle maintenance. You'll need a simple grease gun, available at any auto parts store, and a cartridge of high-quality chassis grease. grease. Force the end of the grease gun over the Zerk fitting and pump the handle until you see a little bit of fresh grease begin to seep out of the rubber boot on the joint. This means you have purged the old, watery grease and filled the joint with new, protective lubrication. Performing this chassis lubrication ritual once or twice a year will dramatically improve the ride quality of your older SUV. It will feel quieter, smoother, and more solid. It will eliminate most of those annoying noises that make a car feel old and worn out. You are giving your vehicle's skeleton the hydration and lubrication it needs to function properly, a simple step that almost every modern car owner has forgotten. Number 10. The C-Foam Deep Soak. We've talked about cleaning the fuel system through the gas tank, but what about the top end of the engine? The intake manifold, the backs of the intake valves, and the tops of the pistons are areas where hard, baked-on carbon deposits can form, especially on direct injection engines where fuel no longer washes over the valves. This carbon buildup can restrict airflow, increase compression to the point of causing engine knock, and create hot spots that interfere with proper combustion. The illegal and incredibly effective way to attack this problem is with a direct induction cleaning, often called the C-Foam treatment. This is a more advanced technique, but it's one of the most powerful ways to decoke an engine and restore lost performance. C-Foam is a petroleum-based cleaner and lubricant that, when slowly introduced directly into the engine's intake, turns into a hot vapor that aggressively dissolves carbon deposits. This procedure will create a massive amount of white smoke out of your exhaust, so it is absolutely essential that you do this in a well-ventilated area, preferably outdoors, and perhaps warn your neighbors that you're not trying to signal the apocalypse. Here's how you perform this engine exorcism. With the engine fully warmed up and running, you need to find a vacuum line that goes directly into the intake manifold. The vacuum line for the brake booster is often the easiest and most effective one to use. It's a thick rubber hose running from a large, round, black canister, the brake booster, on the firewall to the engine's intake manifold. With the engine idling, carefully disconnect this hose from the intake manifold. You will hear a loud hissing sound as the engine sucks in air. You may need to partially cover the hose with your thumb to keep the engine from stalling. Now, take your can of C-Foam. You will be slowly, very slowly, allowing the engine to sip the C-Foam through the vacuum line. Do not just pour it in. You want to submerge the end of the hose into the can and use your thumb to regulate the flow, allowing the engine to suck in a small, steady stream of the liquid. The engine will start to run rough and stumble. This is normal. You are essentially choking it with cleaner. Continue this process until you have used about 1/3 of the can. The crucial step is this. On the very last sip, allow the engine to suck in a large gulp of the C-Foam and then immediately shut the engine off. This allows the liquid cleaner to hot soak inside the hot combustion chambers and on top of the pistons, where it will work to dissolve the most stubborn carbon deposits. Let the vehicle sit, turned off, for at least 15 to 20 minutes. After the soak, it's time for the fun part. Reconnect the vacuum hose securely. Double-check that everything is back together. Now, start the engine. It will likely be very difficult to start and will run extremely rough for the first 30 seconds. You will need to give it some gas to keep it from stalling. Once it's running, a massive, billowing cloud of thick white smoke will start pouring out of your exhaust pipe. This is all the dissolved carbon being burned off and expelled from the engine. Take the vehicle for a very spirited drive. You need to drive it hard, with some full throttle acceleration, to blow out all the carbon residue. The smoke show will last for a good 5 to 10 minutes of driving and will then subside. What you're left with is an engine that has been internally steam cleaned. The throttle response will be sharper, the idle will be smoother, and you may even eliminate minor engine pinging or knock. You have just performed a deep tissue massage on the heart of your SUV, cleaning out the plaque that has been clogging its arteries for years. So there you have it. These aren't just tips, they are a change in philosophy. This is about rejecting the passive role of a mere vehicle operator and becoming an informed, empowered owner. It's about understanding that the life, performance, and reliability of your SUV are not solely in the hands of the dealership's service department. They are in yours. By embracing this illegal knowledge, you are taking control, saving yourself a fortune, and forging a deeper connection with your machine. machine. You now possess the secrets to make your used SUV run better and last longer than anyone ever thought possible. If you've made it this far, you are clearly one of us, someone who isn't afraid to get their hands dirty and unlock the true potential of their vehicle. If you've tried any of these tricks, or if you have an illegal secret of your own, I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comment section below, because we read every single one. And if you want to continue this journey of automotive empowerment and learn more of the secrets the industry doesn't want you to know, make sure you are subscribed with that notification bell fully engaged. There is so much more to uncover, and our next video might just save you from another 4-figure repair bill you don't need to pay. Drive smart, drive safe, and never stop learning.